Holy shit, it's Southern Discomfort!
What's up, you bastards? This is Keith with Southern Discomfort, bringing you an Injustice 2 review kind of thing. So anyway, I know this game came out like fuck all forever ago, and probably everyone's forgotten about it at this point. But I thought I'd just put out a quick little video about it, just cause, you know, I'm a fan of DC and DC Comics, or Detective Comics, because they're fucking geniuses in naming shit. Anyway, so I played the first Injustice a lot. It was a lot of fun. I got Beast and Solomon Grundy, you know. You know, I really wanted to see if Injustice 2 could sort of live up to the previous hype of the first one. I thought the first one was received pretty well, and I was having high hopes for the second one. And I guess I'll just get into it real quick. I'll start out with the storyline. I won't spend too much time on this because, I mean, I don't really give a fuck about the story too much. But it's not quite as confusing as the first one was. For those of you that played the first one, you know they were fucking around with parallel dimensions a lot. So, like, one character would be dead in this dimension, but he was alive in another dimension, or they were evil in this one world, but then they were good in another world, and they crossed over a lot. And in this second one, you can see a lot of remnants of that. Like, there are some people that had kind of come over from another dimension, but they don't cross around at all, so it's sort of less confusing in that sense. But anyway, it starts out sort of where the last one left off. You know, Superman's still all trapped, but the remnants of his followers from the previous game are, you know, trying to break him out. And of course, Batman and his boys don't like that shit. And on top of that, you got Brainiac trying to take over the fucking galaxy with his spaceship or whatever. So, yeah, like I said, I'm not going to get into it too much. It was fine. Like, there was nothing wrong with the storyline. It didn't, like, blow my dick off or anything, but it was par for the course, I'd say. Anyhow, main thing is definitely the gameplay. You know, in a game like this, you play the story mode, like, once on easy just to get it over with, and then you fuck around with, like, multiplayer. Or, you know, Multiverse is a new mode they call in this, but it used to be like the latter games in the old one if you did that shit. But anyhow, I'll sort of get into that. So the characters, there are, you know, some new characters. However, a substantial amount of them are the same from previous games. There's nothing wrong with this, obviously. I mean, Mortal Kombat has, you know, its characters that are just pretty much in every fucking game, and then they add new ones. So I gotta say right off the bat, though, when I first started playing Injustice, I, you know, was playing some of the old characters. Me and a friend, we just sat down and we went through every single character just in verses to see how they played and, you know, check them all out and shit. And it was kind of a little weird at first because a lot of the characters they brought back literally had the same fucking move sets as the first Injustice. And I didn't really know if this was a good thing or a bad thing. Like, it was kind of nice because it, you know, it felt like putting on a nice warm sock, you know, right on your cock, you know, that sock you always go to. It's your go-to sock for when you're ready to have a good time, and it just, you knew what to do. All the old stains were still there. You knew what was going on, you know, so it kind of felt like that. But then after a little bit, I thought, I don't know, man, like, fuck this. I want something new. I bought a new game. I'm not buying an extended DLC for the old game. So I don't know. I kind of just got over it, but whatever. Just keep in mind that a lot of the characters they brought back, like Harley Quinn, Joker, for example, fucking Batman, Superman, they all have a lot of similar moves. If you've played the first Injustice, you're definitely going to recognize a shit ton of it, which I think allowed for a lot of online people to get really fucking good really fast, because they were already goddamn good in the last one, and now when they've just rehashed a bunch of characters that have the same movesets, basically, it's sort of, you know, it lends for there to be a little bit of unbalance online, but it's alright. So anyway, that was one thing I noticed. You know, a lot of the characters that are new are fine. Personally, I mained Harley Quinn. I wasn't maining her at the time of this footage, so the reason why I suck shit and don't have any good carries is because I wasn't good with her yet. But anyhow, Yeah, so I mean, a lot of the characters are cool or whatever, and the new ones are fine. Although I can't really pick a favorite of the new characters. Honestly, I tend to just play with the characters that they already had because they were just better. I don't know. Maybe that's just because I knew how to play them more. Haha, going back around to that. But anyway, I'd say the newest thing that has to do with this game is not the characters or the storyline. It's the equipment. It's the gear that you get from playing. So in the previous one, you know, you could get like outfits and shit if you unlocked them. You'd get like 2 for each person or maybe 3. And then there were DLCs, obviously, where you could get more. But that was really the only customization the game had. So what they've really done in Injustice 2 is flesh that out a lot. So if you're fighting, you unlock loot boxes, which are I fucking hate loot boxes, but you know, almost every game does them, so you kind of just have to get used to it. Overwatch, I'm looking at you, you fucking motherfucker. Anyway, so you can unlock gear through that, and gear is for each individual character, and you know, it's like the head, the torso, the arms, the legs, and like the equipment they use, like the bow or the gun or whatever. And they all have different perks about them. They all have different levels that, you know, you have to be at least level 5 to use it. No, that's the other thing I guess I should mention first is that now when you play with characters online or anywhere else, you level up that character. So like if you played with Harley Quinn a lot, you level her up, and then you could use better gear that you pull for her over time. You know, you can get it through a loot box or some other means or some shit like that. But anyway, yeah, so the gear adds some really cool customization to it. You know, you've got a lot of different color schemes you can pick. So I think this was probably the biggest driving point of the game was the customization, because it really does entice you to want to level up these characters. You know, like you can only go up to level 20 with a character, and then once you get that, you're probably a boss with them, and you can have a lot of epic gear. But there's still that drive to like play as other characters, because you want to level them up, because like maybe you'll get a good loot box and you'll get some kick-ass level 20 leg shit for the Flash, and you're like, oh damn, I really want to fucking beat my meat to that gear. I'm gonna get his ass up to level 20, and then, you know, then I'll just be the kitty's titties online. And then you want to play as the Flash, and then you get good as him. So whereas in the old one, you really had absolutely no incentive to play as different characters. I mean, you really just would have to get good at like one character, maybe 2 if one of your characters sucked at zoning and you needed to like counter somebody online. But really, for the most part, once you got good at someone, you just wanted to keep getting better at them, because obviously that just upped your chances of winning shit. But now, whereas you do still want to level people up and get better with them, you want to keep leveling up. And since you get capped at 20 with somebody, you know, you want to continue to level up other characters, so therefore you start to play with them, and then you get better with them, and it's a real good time. It's really fun. And anyhow, yeah, so I'd say that's definitely the biggest driving point of the game. The other bigger thing that they added to this was it's called the Multiverse, and what that is it's like there's a bunch of different challenges that are on hourly cycles. You know, some last a day, some last 2 days, some last 5. Some last as long as your mom's period. Anyway, it's very varied. So anyhow, and they'll offer different challenges, you know, like, oh, in this one, you fucking, you know, you gotta beat Robin, and there's like 5 guys that you have to beat before you beat Robin, and then if you defeat him, you get like some rare Robin skin or equipment or something. Or in this one, it's like, oh, the floor is hot lava. Like every 30 seconds, the fucking fire erupts out of your asshole, and you better watch out. And, you know, then that's like a world for a while. And they offer different rewards if you get through shit. You know what I mean? Like if you beat a planet or stages in that planet, you might get certain equipment or certain loot boxes or money. You know, and then you can buy shit with the money. You can buy loot boxes, or just hope that you pull good equipment for the characters that you want and shit like that. So yeah, that is the Multiverse. Another thing I want to mention is with the equipment you unlock, it changes your stats. So you have like a strength stat, a defense stat, an ability stat, and then I believe a health stat. And every different equipment, it's like, oh, plus 30 to your health, but it's got 0, ability or something. And the thing you might have on has 30 ability but 0 health. And you have to prioritize of what you think your particular character needs more. Obviously some characters just have a more better base strength or base ability or something like that. And they have the potential to be stronger or less strong depending what equipment you give. So, some common equipment you get at like level 2 is like, a plus 8 to 1 category. But if you get some fucking epic equipment on level 20, then you have like plus 300 to every category and some crazy perk or some shit like that. So that's where it's not just customization in the fact of aesthetics. It's also customizable in how your character plays and what you focus and, shit like that. And obviously some characters are naturally better at zoning or grappling or things like that. But anyhow, that is another thing about the customization. So let's get down to brass tacks here. How good is the game really? I want to give this game... I think I'm going to give this game, honestly, a 7 out of 10. So I grade my scale on a 5 being a completely average game. So I would say 7 is definitely above average. It's even more above average than a 6 would be, because 6 would technically just be above average. But I'm gonna give it a 7, and I'll tell you why. It's a good game. It's got a good formula. It's very similar to the first one in a lot of ways, obviously, which is good, but I feel like it's its biggest downfall. So for me, the biggest issue I had was what I said earlier, is how so many of the characters play the same. I mean, I have a douchey friend that's really good at Green Arrow, and he's still fucking amazing at Green Arrow, because Green Arrow was almost exactly the same as the first one. It literally took him half a day to get as good as he was with the first Injustice. And I couldn't fucking beat him then. And now I just don't have a prayer with all the goddamn customizable shit. And I have to try to figure out a new character to main, because they fucking got rid of Solomon Grundy, you pieces of shit, my guy. So anyhow, I think it was the biggest downfall for me, is that, like, with a fighting game, I want it to be a new fighting game. And fucking 70% of these characters are from the old game. And when you make their movesets almost exactly the same, I'll give them a little credit. They do have some different moves in there. I'm not saying they copied and pasted everything, but the fucking old Injustice came out I don't know, fucking 3 years ago, 4 years ago, some shit like that. And it took them this long to make just another one. Now, I know fucking Mortal Kombat came out since then, but I'm just saying, it doesn't seem like it would have been terribly difficult to make this game based on, I mean, a lot of characters are just almost the same. And, they give you some new characters, but it's like, I don't know, some of them you don't really give a fuck about. Some weren't that good in the old one anyway, so you still don't play as them. Like, I don't know, Captain Cold or whatever the fuck his name is. No one gives a shit. No one knows his backstory. Even diehard fans might have a hard time. Like, who the fuck is Captain Cold? Like, I mean, it's just little shit like that. And I just think that the biggest downfall for me in the game is that I played it for, I guess it's been about a month now. I've played it for a month, and then I stopped having the drive to go back and play it again. It just didn't really offer it didn't offer enough new material for me to want to be playing it as much as I did. Now, I don't want to say that I'm shitting on the formula of fighting games, because I know some people are going to say, like, oh, Keith, well, every sequel is going to have a certain amount of elements similar to previous games. Like Fallout 4 is going to be similar in some ways to Fallout 3. Skyrim was similar to Oblivion in some ways. And I hear what you're saying. I'm not trying to say that I'm shitting on this fighting game for being another fighting game in sequel to Injustice. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you can have previous materials or previous formulas or previous characters that you used for the old game. I'm not saying it's bad that Superman and Batman and Catwoman and Joker all fight relatively the same as the new one. I'm saying that if you are going to do that as game developers and producers, then you need to put in more characters that add new shit, you know? You need to really amp it up, all right? You can't have 70% of the characters be the same and then play the same as old characters, because then that's 30% of a new game. I'll say 40% for like the storyline and multiverse and customization, but it's like 40% new to me is what it feels like. So that means I play it 60% less. That's fucked up math, but you see what I'm trying to say here is if they really wanted to bring all these characters back, then they needed to give us more characters. I mean, shit. How many people did not buy this game for the story mode? Yeah, the story mode was fine and good, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm saying if you just made a bunch of fucking characters and you couldn't figure out some way to incorporate every single one into the story mode, I'm sure people wouldn't have given a fuck. I mean, look at the DLC characters that are coming out now. Like, Red Hood wasn't in the fucking main story. That one dude with the weird fucking purple laser out of his eyes, I don't know what the fuck he's called, but I'm just saying, there's a lot of DLC characters they're coming out with now that weren't in the main story, and it's not fucking anyone up. You could have just made a shitload of new characters, and, you know, if they worked in the story, great. If not, just fucking leave them there, and you'll play them in something else. Like, it's not a big deal. There's tons of characters to choose from in the DC universe. So what I'm saying is if they were gonna make so much of the game similar, then they should have ramped it up and fucking got more new shit in the game, is what I'm trying to say. So that's why I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Like I said, the base formula is still good. It's still a fun game, but it wasn't as new as I would have liked it to have been. It's rehashed a lot of the same shit. So I'm probably not going to play this one as long or as much as I did the first one. So anyway, guys, that's my rambling review for Injustice 2. Yeah, I'll see you later.
Has anybody seen my fucking sock?